You're watching the chapter number 21 of the Blender Materials, Textures and Nodes course, Finalizing the Scene. In today's chapter, we'll be making some final adjustments in the gaming arcade scene that we started creating in the chapter number 1 of this course. But if you are someone who's new to the Blender Materials, Textures and Nodes course, then do watch the previous 20 chapters by using the link of the playlist given in the pinned comment. So I've opened this file of the retro gaming arcade scene, and till now we have created a number of different materials for different objects in the scene. For example, the brick texture for the wall, this tile material for the floor, then we created this wireframe material for the side walls, then we used the wave texture and a variety of different nodes to create these materials for the gaming machines. And now the first thing that we'll do today will be to create some simple seats or some gaming chairs that we'll keep in front of these machines. So for this, let's first add a cylinder in the scene. So press Shift plus A, go to Mesh and select Cylinder. To focus only on the cylinder, press the / button. Let's zoom out, press Tab to enter the edit mode, press S to scale it down, and then to increase its length, we'll scale it up in the Z axis and left click to finalize. After this, return back to the object mode, and this will be used as the bottom part of the seat. Now for the top of the seat, let's add a cube. So press Shift plus A, then go to Mesh and select the cube. Press Tab to enter the edit mode. Let's scale it down in the Z axis and also press S to scale it up like this. Let's again reduce its height, and after making the adjustments in the size, return back to the object mode. Now to convert this cube into the chair seat, we'll be using the bevel tool to make this slightly rounded at the corners. So go to the edit mode, press A to select all, then press Ctrl plus B to apply the bevel tool, then move the cursor away, and to increase the number of segments, we'll be using the scroll wheel. So I'll keep the number of segments to around 7 or 8 and left click to finalize. After this, return back to the object mode. Let's move it up in the Z axis and place it over here. After this, right click and apply Shade Auto Smooth, create a duplicate, then right click to cancel the movement, and we'll be using this duplicate cube to create the back of the chair. So let's rotate it in the Y axis by 90 degrees and press enter. Let's go to the front or the side view, press G to move it and place it over here. And with this, we have created a very simple seat that we can place in front of the machines. So let's select all these three parts and press the / button again to remove the focus from these objects. Now to place them properly, let's go to the top view by pressing 7 on the numpad. Let's zoom out, press S to scale this down, press G to move it and place it over here. Let's scale it down again. Let's also change the angles, and right now we should also change the rotation of this chair in the Z axis. So press RZ and enter 180 in the numpad, then press enter, and with this we now have a simple chair created which is also rotated in such a way that it faces the gaming machine. After this, we'll create some more seats, but before that, let's create a very simple material. So with this cube selected, go to the shade editor, click on the new button, and I'll be adding the wireframe node. So press Shift plus A, then go to input and select wireframe. Let's place it over here, take the factor socket and connect it to the base color. After this, let's adjust the scale value, and I'll keep it to somewhere around 0.1, and now it looks perfect. Then if you want to change the color of the material, then we'll add the color ramp node in between the wireframe and the principal BSDF. So press Shift plus A, then go to converter and select the color ramp node. Let's place it over here, and for the white pointer, I'll change this color to something like blue or purple, and yes, it totally depends upon you that which particular color you want to use for any of the two pointers. Right now, I have selected the light green color for the base material. Moving ahead, I'll now select this particular seat, and to apply the same material, I'll first select this one and check the name of the material, which is material.017. Then select this object, click here and type 017, and then here we'll have that particular material. So I'll select it, and it is now applied to this object also. After this, I'll select the cylinder at the bottom, and let's create a very simple material with a metallic look. I'll increase the metallic value to around 0.7 or 0.8, and let's also bring down the roughness value. Then in the base color, I'll bring down the brightness slider to make the color slightly darker or something similar to the gray color. Moving ahead, I'll also switch to the rendered preview mode in order to see how the scene will look in the final rendered version. So right now, the simple chair that we created is looking perfect in the scene, and so we'll work on creating a few more chairs. So for this, I'll first select all the three parts of the chair, then go to the top view, let's zoom out, and before creating the duplicates, press G to move it and place it over here. Then press Shift plus B and move the duplicate in the Y axis. Let's place it over here. And to repeat the same step a few more times, simply press Shift plus R shortcut the required number of times. And with this, we'll be able to create any number of chairs in the arcade scene. Apart from this, I'll also select a few chairs and will rotate them in the Z axis. For example, with this chair selected over here, I'll press RZ and type 180 to rotate it in the Z axis by 180 degrees. But yes, it's not compulsory to change the rotation in the Z axis by exact 180 degrees. If you want, you can keep the rotation at some random value also. But because of doing that, its position might get slightly displaced as compared to the rest of the chairs. And if that happens, you simply have to move it back at the original position like this. Moving ahead, let's do the same with another chair that we'll randomly select out of all these. For example, I'll select all the objects related to this chair like the seats and the cylinder, and let's rotate it in the z-axis by 180 degrees. Apart from this, I'll also make a few adjustments in the image textures that I've added for these gaming machines. For example, the front screen of all these machines is having the same image, but what I'm gonna do is that I will assign some random images that we downloaded in the chapter number 7 by learning about the image texture node. Also, I'll drop the link of all these images that I'm using in this project in the video description. So right now, I'll press tab to enter the edit mode of this particular machine, select this face which is for the screen, and currently it is having the material.011 applied, but I'll change this to the other material on which we used the warrior image. So with this material selected, I'll click on the assign button to apply this material. Similarly, I'll select this one also, press tab to enter the edit mode, select this face, and for this machine, I will apply this material on which we have used the image of Mario. So click on the assign button to apply this image and return back to the object mode. But yes, it might be possible that you want to change the scaling and the position of this image on the selected face. And to do that thing, we need to use the UV editor about which we learned in the chapter number 7. So press tab to enter the edit mode, and with the face selected, I'll change this window from shader editor to the UV editor. Now we'll select these 2 points over here, press G to move them in the x-axis and place them over here. Then left click and return back to the object mode. Now in a similar way, let's randomly apply different images on the front screens of the gaming machines. So for the selected machine, I'll again use the Mario image, and in the UV editor, I will select these 2 points and will move them in the x-axis like this. Let's return back to the object mode. After this, I'll select this particular gaming machine, tab into the edit mode, select this face, and for this we'll use the material.012 on which we applied the warrior image texture. Click on the assign button, and after this, return back to the object mode. After this, let's also change this window back to the shader editor. Then with the machine selected, I will go to the material properties and select this original material that we applied to the machine bodies. And instead of using this light blue color, I'll change this to some other color. And for this, I'll go to the color ramp node, select this light blue pointer and change the color by clicking here. So in the color wheel, you can choose any color that you want, but for now, I will select the pink color in the color wheel. And after this, our scene is now looking almost ready. So let's go to the camera view by pressing 0 on the numpad. Let's zoom out, and before seeing the render preview, let's make some changes in the camera object. So I'll select the camera in the scene collection, then go to the object data properties, and in the viewport display, change the passive partout value from 0.5 to 1. By doing this, we'll only see the region that is within the camera view. Now to adjust the camera view, click on this lock icon and then use the scroll wheel or the combination of the middle mouse button and the control button in order to change the camera view. After this, we'll disable the lock camera to view by clicking on this lock button and then go to the rendered preview mode. And finally, this is how our retro gaming arcade scene is now looking in the rendered preview mode. So first of all, with this camera view, let's render a sample image by going to the render option and clicking on render image. Then this window will appear where we are seeing the lighting effects because of the scene lights that we added in the scene, and we can also see this portal object that we have hidden in the 3D viewport. So to adjust all these things, let's first cancel the render by closing this window. Then in the scene collection, here we have that portal with the name circle, and to disable its presence even in the final render, simply click on this camera icon. After this, the reason why we can't see the effect of lighting in the 3D viewport is that we have turned off the scene lights and the scene world. So I'll turn both of them on in the viewport shading menu. After that, I'll select this default light that is present over here and press X to delete. After this, most of the region in this arcade scene is pretty much dark. However, the reason why we have so much light on this bottom part is the presence of the sky texture that we added in one of the previous chapters. So to fix this, I'll go to the shader editor, change the shader type from object to world, and to remove the sky texture node, hold on Alt, left click and drag it away. Then in the background node, I'll change the strength to default 1, and with this, the arcade scene is now completely dark. So we can now work on creating some lights and placing them at different positions for the arcade scene. And to do this thing, let's first go to the solid mode. Now press Shift plus A, go to light and select the area light. Let's move it up in the Z axis. Let's also scale it up by pressing S, and after this, we'll move it in the X axis. Then go to the top view by pressing 7 on the numpad, and we have to make this light point towards the gaming machines. So press R to rotate it in the Y axis like this. Let's change the angle, and here you can see that this area light is now pointing towards the gaming machines. Let's also rotate it slightly in the X axis and left click to finalize. After this, go back to the top view. Let's zoom out, move it slightly in the Y axis, and now let's go to the rendered preview mode in order to see if there is any effect of the lighting added in the scene. And right now, you can clearly see that there's hardly any effect of this light on the scene. And that is because the power of this light is very low by default. You can change the power by going to the object data properties. So I'll change this from 10 watt to something like 150 watts. And now you will notice some light added in the scene. Apart from this, you can also set any particular color for the light by changing it in the color option. But for now, I will choose the original white color for the lights. Now with the area light selected, we'll create its duplicate by pressing Shift plus D and move it in the y-axis like this, and then let's also rotate it in the x-axis and we'll make it point towards the opposite direction. After this, I'll select both of these lights by holding the Shift button, and to create the duplicates, press Shift plus B, let's move them in the y-axis and place them over here. Similarly, for some more lights, let's repeat the same procedure again by using the shortcut Shift plus R. Now let's change the angle, and currently our scene is having a decent lighting where we can properly see the basic details. However, to improve this, we'll be adding some more lighting. So I'll go to the solid mode, let's change the angle, and we'll select all of these lights by holding the Shift button. After this, we'll create the duplicates by pressing Shift plus B and move them down in the Z-axis like this, and left click to finalize. Then go to the rendered preview mode in order to see the effect of the lighting in the scene. And finally, this is how our scene is looking with a very basic lighting setup. Now before moving forward, I'll also make some changes in the silver colored material that we applied on these boundaries of the gaming machine. So with the machine selected, go to the shader editor, change the shader type from world to object. Let's also go to the material preview mode and select that specific material that we used on these faces. And yes, it might be possible that you are not able to search for that exact material that we used, and if that happens, simply go to the edit mode and select that particular face on which we have applied the material. By doing this, that specific material will automatically get selected in the material properties. Now return back to the object mode, and what I'm gonna do is to convert the color of this material from white or silver to something like gold or the yellow color. So I'll go to the color ramp, and with the first pointer selected, let's change the color to the yellow color. After this, I'll select the second pointer, and for this one also, I will choose the yellow color. And because of this, our material is now looking like the gold metal. After all these adjustments, we are now ready to render this scene. So for this, go to the render menu and select render image. Then this window will open where we have the image of the arcade scene being rendered in cycles. You can also check the sample count on the top here. For now, I'll close this window, and this also brings us to the end of this chapter. Today we understood about making a very basic lighting setup for the scene, and we did some final adjustments for this retro gaming arcade scene. And yes, if you want to download the Blender file containing this complete scene along with the animations, then you can join the Patreon, whose link is added in the description. And so our next chapter will be the chapter number 22, creating final animations. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press that notification bell so that you can get timely updates about the upcoming chapters. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.